This is not my complete advice for anyone, but just to be a little facetious, if you do not believe it's possible for you what you so earnestly desire and seek, then don't start. Because if the intention behind your seeking, if the motivation behind what you desire is not really pure, is not really yours, is not really understood as to this is why I want it, then you become very swayable. I want you to be passionate, I want you to be confident, I want you to know it's possible for you, and then I want you to seek it with devotion. But overall, hello everyone. Can you hear me? All right, let's take a deep breath. Attune ourselves for a minute. Inhale the light of Source, all that is, the power within you, ever present. And as you exhale, let go of everything contrived, man-made, artificial, of the mind. And again, breathe in the light of Source, all that is pure and good and whole within you right now. And relax the thoughts of the world, the man-made ideas, that which is not you. One more time, breathe in deeply the light of Source. Let it fill you up. And exhale and let go of anything you've ever been taught, anything you assume to be true, so that you come into clarity of naked awareness of this bare present moment as it actually is. And so we start this session from a clean slate. You always want to start, whatever you study, from a clean slate. Ground zero. Empty, naked awareness. I prepared for you 12 core principles, not to make it complicated, but just to give us some structure to go through and some reminders you can look through. And as I go through these, I will try to find some personal anecdotes from my own journey, from my own seeking, from my own history, for each or at least most of these points, as I clarify their relevance for your journey. Now, the title is The Master is the Best Student. 12 Core Principles of Effective Apprenticeship. This is quite fundamental, actually. This is quite an important topic. Because let's say, hypothetically, your journey, let's say you're going to be journeying for 10 years, a very arbitrary number, but let's say you're going to be seeking and journeying for the next 10 years. If you do that from having cultivated proper apprenticeship within yourself, then how to put this without making it sound too much like an end goal, the brightness or the luminosity with which you will have accumulated an awareness of yourself, your true self, or whatever it might be that you're seeking in life, which ultimately is always your true self, is it not? However, whatever goal you might attribute to that, whatever symbol you might appoint to that, let's say that's your desire. Let's say that for the next 10 years, you're going to apply yourself to the fulfillment of that passion, of that desire, of that seeking. If you do this effectively versus not effectively, then the amount of light, let's put it that way, that you will have accumulated by the end of that same stretch of time of 10 years in the effective reality versus the ineffective reality is going to differ greatly. So this is an important foundation or basis for every student, no matter what level you're at. In many ways, I still embody these principles. So, as the title says, the master is the best student. And internally, I consider myself much more a student than a master. That's closer to how I would describe how I feel just on a day-to-day basis. but I do acknowledge that I am a very effective student. So in this regard, maybe you can learn from me how to be a better student, simply put. So let's go through some of these principles together. I separated into 3 categories. One is the foundations, the seeker's fourfold foundation. The second category is the 4 inner seeking attitudes, or you could say strengths or qualities, if you will. And the third category is the 4 outer seeking attitudes, or strengths or qualities. But first up, the seeker's fourfold foundation. This is your foundation. Without this, there's really no journey or seeking, at least not consciously, at all. Principle number 1, under the seeker's fourfold foundation. Know what you desire and seek. Let me read through all of them once, through all 12, and then we'll focus on each. So number 1, know what you desire and seek. Principle 2, know why you desire and seek it. Principle 3, know that what you desire and seek is possible for you. 4, increase the intensity with which you desire and seek it. Now, under the 4 inner seeking attitudes, so beyond this foundation, what are the inner seeking attitudes that I recommend? And there's many more, but I sort of distilled it into these just to give us some structure. 5, principle 5, the first of the 4 inner seeking attitudes. Keep your desired goal ever in your mind and heart. Number 6, prioritize learning and growth above every other personal motivation. 7, cultivate confidence, humility. That's one word, by the way. It's a new word. I'll explain this in a minute. Number 8, know that your path is between you and God, not you and humans. Very important. Now for the 4 outer seeking attitudes. Principle 9, seek out the best teaching, teacher, practice, and community for you. It doesn't have to be me. That's not the instruction. It doesn't say seek out Bentinho. So seek out the best teaching, teacher, practice, and community for you. I don't care what it is. Just make sure it's the proper one for you. Scrutinize and appreciate. Number 10, absorb the useful, release the useless. So we scrutinize to know what is useful. And then we appreciate that knowledge, and we also appreciate the useless. So we release it. We don't invalidate it, we release it. Number 11, when you find the highest path for you, be utterly devoted to it. Number 12, make your outer life match your inner path. Like I said, we could distill hundreds of little nuggets and little core principles for what makes an effective student, but these will cover most of that. And if you stick to even a few of those wholeheartedly, it's going to really accelerate your studentship, your apprenticeship, the pace at which you grow and effectively learn. All right, now let's break them down a little bit. And then, like I said, for most of them, I'll try to rewind from what I can remember of Bentinho's personal journey on Earth. Some relevant anecdotes to go with these principles. All right, again, under the foundation category, principle 1, know what you desire and seek. This is pretty straightforward, but it's also easy to not actually spend enough time or attention on this because it seems so obvious. And we assume that we already know what we desire and what we seek. But rarely is this the case. Hence, the confusions and the questions, or some of them at least. So know what it is that you seek. Without that, there's no foundation, no? What are you seeking? Why would you learn? What do you need to learn? How can you scrutinize what is proper for you? What's the highest teaching for you if you do not know with the utmost clarity what it is that you desire and seek? So this is the foundation. Do you know what you desire? And let's pretend that you do, because I don't want to cast you into sort of a maze of confusion and conflicting desires and things that maybe you need some time to get clear on. Maybe you think, okay, I want this, but I think I should want that. And then there's also this thing that I desire, and I know it's enlightenment I must seek, but really I want the Ferrari and the bitches and the money. So whatever that is that you're having to deal with and sift through to purify your desire, you can do that in your own time. But actually, one of the powerful principles of effective apprenticeship is confidence, it's conviction, it's straightforwardness. So let's just pretend that you know what you want. Let's just pretend that you know what you want, and maybe you actually do know what you want. Some of you are clear on this. But then make it even clearer. Just say to yourself, kind of fake it till you make it, I know for sure what it is that I desire and seek. Just see how that lands for you. It doesn't have to be true intellectually. Your mind might come up with a bunch of conflicting ideas as to why that's not a true statement. Just ignore for now. Just feel the vibration. What would it feel like if I said to myself, and if it were true, even if it isn't yet, but what if it were true that I know exactly what it is that I want and what it is that I seek? So take on that energy, if you will. I know what I want, or I know what I desire and seek. So I'll give you 20 seconds to just embody that energy, to conjure up that feeling state, and to say this to yourself. I know exactly what I desire and seek. Again, don't think about it. Just say that statement and see how it feels. Harmonize with that one-pointedness. I know exactly what I desire and seek. And you may notice, as you say it one more time together, you may notice that a lot of the extra stuff falls away. There is a clarity that arises. There's a sense of empowerment that arises. So let's say it one more time. Take a deep breath. Breathe in the light of source. Fill yourself with confidence, conviction. You know why you are here, and thus say to yourself, I know exactly what I desire and seek. And then just abide in that frequency. Just rest with that statement confidently. Wonderful. Well, since you all know, because you just said it, so I'm going to take your word for it. Since you all know what you desire and seek so clearly, let's move on to the next point. Know why you desire and seek it. Know why you desire and seek it. Because if you don't know why you desire and seek what you think you desire and seek, then chances are high it's not really what you desire and it's not really what you seek. It is just a symbolized form of what you seek. It's what you seek outsourced to some kind of phenomena, some kind of a symbol, some kind of an image, some kind of a scripture perhaps, or some kind of a deity, or some kind of a quality, or some kind of an outcome, some kind of lifestyle, some kind of personal identity, some kind of set of sensations. Any of these things can be stolen from you. Any of these things can be not accomplished. And even if they are accomplished, if they belong to the realm of phenomena, of appearances, then even their accomplishment will be momentary, transient, and perishable. So let's assume, it's a safe assumption, that what each of you say you desire is to some degree a little diluted, a little distorted, to some degree. A lot of you know very clearly, and you can put it in the right words, what I want is God, or what I want is source, or what I want is the true self, what I want is the truth, what I want is reality. That's what I ultimately seek. A lot of you guys have been trained well, and you know this. And I'm not doubting that that is a valid permission slip. But even then, if I were to ask you, do you know why you seek it? Do you know? Because if the intention behind your seeking, if the motivation behind what you desire is not really pure, is not really yours, is not really understood as to this is why I want it, then you become very swayable. I can change the scripture and what you want changes. I could change the deity, the symbol, what you want changes. I could take away or make it impossible for you to achieve this thing that you want or the way in which you want it. And then what then? So you need to understand exactly why you seek what you seek so that you can never be deluded by lesser forms and lesser paths and lesser teachings and lesser teachers and lesser ideas. So that this guiding light of knowing what it is that you desire and seek and why you desire and seek it always burns very clearly for you. It's very sovereign. It's very independent, not separate from all that is, but independent from everyone else's ideas. This is very important. So frequently ask yourself, especially when you think you know what you want, this is the test of the first principle, is why do I desire and seek this? And if you can find a clear intuitive frequency to that, a clear energy to that, a clear answer to that, then you know, okay, my answer to principle one, know what I desire and seek, is truthful. It's validated. Okay? So keep that in mind. Now, very important, and this really, I think, is one of the key things that distinguished me, or distinguishes my history, I suppose, from that of most other seekers. So when people ask me that question, which I've gotten many times, how, along the lines of, how did you do it? Or usually specifically, how did you do it so fast? Or how did you get to where you are at such a young age? Any question along those lines, which seems to distinguish me, not so much anymore. I'm growing a little older physically, but you know, I used to be a dorky teenager, still am, teaching about some of the highest non-dual truths, and people naturally would wonder, how the fuck? I've been on this path for 40 years, and here I am in San Francisco, or where the fuck we were, and I'm listening to this 20-year-old boy with almost zero life experience teach me about these principles of the universe. How is this possible? So especially when I was a little younger and I did more public speaking, I would get this question more often. And this principle, the third principle, really is, I think, the defining marker of this question. Know that what you desire and seek is possible for you. As the Ashtavakra Gita suggests, as well as Henry Ford. Whether you believe you can or can't, you are right. If you think you are free, you are. If you think you are bound, you are bound. So it's important, once you have clarified what it is that you seek and desire, that indeed this is possible for you. Otherwise, You might as well not start, honestly. You know, this is not my complete advice for anyone, but just to be a little facetious, if you do not believe it's possible for you what you so earnestly desire and seek, then don't start. Choose the next best thing that you do believe you can accomplish. Have a fun life. Go, become an expert at Spelunky. Go cave diving. Go create a motorcycle company. Go travel the world. Go have lots of sex. Go do your thing, whatever you want. If you don't believe that what you seek is possible for you, then either work on that belief until you do know that it's possible for you, or pick another life. Because otherwise, I'll see you again in 40 years and not that much will have changed. Okay? And I don't want that for you. You might as well live a full life within the illusion, give as much richness and experience back to the creator when you die. Like, hey, look what I've explored. I have no clue who the fuck you are, Mr. Source, but at least on your behalf, I had a swell time. So if you really want this, if you really want your own version of illumination, of enlightenment, then please know that what you desire and seek is possible for you. And I hope that is something that I often transmit to you subliminally and also consciously and verbally, that this is possible for you and enlightenment is for everybody. You just need enough desire and clear instruction. Okay, so once you know it's possible for you, then the last fundamental principle of effective apprenticeship is to learn how to increase your intensity, the intensity with which you desire and seek that which you desire and seek. If you have a low-level intensity, it's like a little flame. It cannot burn a log. It cannot burn through things. It's like a weak laser. It cannot cut through things. The more intense your seeking is, and here's where I deviate from a lot of the sort of modern non-dual teachers or the Neo-Advaita kind of mindfuck scene, is that seeking is of the utmost importance, and the intensity with which you seek is of the utmost importance. Can you take breaks? Yes, you can take breaks. If your system asks for it, if your system begs for a break, give it a break. Go see a movie. Go on a vacation. Go forget a little bit about your journey for a couple of weeks. Just return to it. But that's fine. If you need to decompress because you're too intense and too much of your thinking mind gets involved, your concepts, your unworthiness, this is not possible for me, and that fire of seeking, that rising energy, also called Kundalini, that intensification of seeking, that fire rises. But if you block it with intellectualism, if you block it with unself-worthiness, if you block it with struggle and things need to be hard and this is not possible for me, or any kind of idea like that which contradicts what you desire and seek, then yes, the system is going to build up a certain type of energy, a certain type of heat that's not very pleasant, it's not very healthy, it's not very sustainable. So learn to recognize that symptom, but then take that as a teaching first and foremost that you want to clear the path for this intensity. So if you intensify your seeking, so the intensity with which you seek what you desire and seek, then as this energy rises, as you become more intense, more intensely present, more intensely inquisitive, more intensely paying attention, then in response to that heightened vibration, which is effectively what it is, the more intensely you seek, the more your frequency rises, your will rises. You start to move up, so to speak. You start to ascend in your frequency. As that happens, you're going to bump into certain thresholds. You're going to bump into those glass ceilings produced by your limiting ideas, produced by your lack beliefs, produced by your psychology, your self-concept. This is a great opportunity to look at what those are. This is not the session for that, because it's too much of a science in and of itself. But I've taught this throughout many of my sessions, the Bentinho live sessions. I will be teaching about it in my upcoming book series. and so on. And there's all the support you need for this particular type of process within Massaro University. So you can do that there. But the principle is you raise the intensity with which you seek, let's say, source or God, which is ultimately what you seek. In response to that heightened energy, that rise in will, that rise in faith, that rise in awareness and consciousness, where your presence becomes more intense. It is like running a greater amount of electricity through a certain wiring or through a certain funnel or channel. It's like pushing a lot of water through a certain diameter of piping. Now, if that piping isn't quite up to the task, because it's constricted by those limiting ideas, you will then feel this as heat. So that's my only disclaimer or side note to the intensifying your seeking energy. But if you can manage that, if you can self-manage that, if you notice, hey, wait a second, I'm just going too intense and I'm overthinking everything and I'm overstimulated and I kind of feel ungrounded or I feel just kind of burned out spiritually, take a break. Seek some support in your community, in your house, in one of the sessions. Soothe yourself with a more relaxing, surrender-based meditation, things like that. But just sort of lower the intensity with which you seek. But overall, okay, that disclaimer taken into account, overall, I strongly recommend that you increase your overall passion for the Creator, the passion for Source. Because without that, you get this 40-year-old search thing, where 40-year-long search thing, where 40 years from now, you'll probably end up in fucking San Francisco again, listening to my grandchildren or something like that. You know? So, and then what? Like, and then you still have the same doubts, the same ideas, and you have to burn through that stuff, okay? I want you to be passionate. I want you to be confident. I want you to know it's possible for you, and then I want you to seek it with devotion. And then balance it. Then look at your shadow stuff when you need to, when you bump into a ceiling, and you integrate, and you harmonize, and you relax, and let go. But overall, we need to seek more intensely. This is another distinguishing factor of my own history or journey, is that I sought with an intensity. I believed it was possible. I knew it was possible, even. I didn't believe it. I knew it was possible. I knew that if there's a source to all that is, then that means all that is part of that source. That means I am part of that source. So logically, for a fact, I need to have access to it. There is a way into it. And also intuitively, I just felt this with great certainty, even at a young age. Like 14, 15, whenever I tuned into this, I knew it was possible for me. And then I sought intensely. I finished high school to sort of appease my parents, but I didn't want to. In my spare time, I was studying. I was reading The Law of One. I was trying to make objects move with my mind. I was studying the paranormal. I was trying to find out the source of life. And then I got into the Yoga Sutras and the Gitas and Vedanta and stuff like that. I went to India. As soon as high school was finished, I saved up. I got a job while I was in high school and while I was studying these subjects that I'm now teaching. And as my passion grew and I saved money, I went to India as soon as I graduated, or soon after anyway. But that was the plan. I stuck with it. I went to India, lived there for 6 months, and I saw it intensely. I saw it very intensely, to a point where I didn't take, or at the time I didn't quite know how to take my own disclaimer of how to deal with that much energy, how to deal with that much frustration, how to deal with that much seeking intensity. Because I was also deeply frustrated, or harshly frustrated at the same time. I didn't know how to manage that energy very well at the time. It was just my own sort of metaphysical science experiment. And through experience, I had to sort of learn how to balance that, how to let that breathe, because I wanted it so much. I had an intensity for it. But it did pay off. And so this is one of the other distinguishing factors. When I look at a lot of you guys, no offense, and you're already in the much higher echelon of intensity of seeking, if you take a sample size of spiritual communities, let alone a sample size of the, Muggle land, no offense, the beautiful people out there who have no clue what the fuck is going on. So your seeking is already very intense comparatively. And yet, when I get a sense of it as a whole, especially sort of the people that take their time learning and embodying certain lessons, and then maybe come back with the same questions, no offense, again, totally fine. So if you get a sample size like this and you follow people for like 2, 3, 4 years, 5 years, sometimes longer, as part of this community, and of course they've grown, of course they've had insights, but if they still self-identify with this a similar baseline self-concept at the end of those 5 years, then that's still going to be their modus operandi. It's still going to be their default operating mode. So unless they're having a really deep meditative experience, or they're having a profound insight in that moment, which is part of why they chase that new insight, it's because their baseline still hasn't been busted through sufficiently. And why I did go penetrate those ceilings at a relatively rapid rate for my age and all that is because of the intensity of my seeking, and that I know it was possible, and I wanted it. I knew what I wanted. I know it was possible. I knew it was possible. Still do. And I sought it with an intensity. So I do recommend this. If you actually want what you want, of course. If not, then it's fine. You can do whatever you want. But you always have what you want. Okay, so that concludes the Seeker's Fourfold Foundation. We know what we desire and seek. We know why we desire and seek it. We know that it is possible for us. And we work on increasing the intensity with which we seek it. 4 key core ingredients. If you apply just those, your journey is going to skyrocket. What you would otherwise learn in 3 years, you're going to learn in the next 3 hours. Okay, it's really that powerful. Your desire for freedom, if it's strong enough, your desire for truth, for reality, for knowing, if it's strong enough, it can burn through forests of ignorance, self-concepts, outdated ideas, delusions, conditionings, and all that. You do not need a long journey. You really do not need a long journey. You do not. You accept a long journey. You tolerate it. And as Tony Robbins likes to say, you get what you tolerate. All right. Okay, that concludes the foundation. Now, for inner seeking attitudes, I recommend. Number 5, principle number 5, or the first of the 4 inner seeking attitudes. Keep your desired goal ever in your mind and heart. This is very similar to increasing the intensity of your seeking, but with the emphasis, because the way I categorized it is essentially, okay, this is the seeker's foundation, these first 4. Once you have that, you can sort of visualize it as, okay, now the journey begins. I'm going to be seeking. I'm going to be studying. I'm going to be practicing. I'm going to become more aware of myself. I'm going to be interacting with other kinds of students, teachers, seekers, and so on. So that's when the journey, so to speak, begins. Now, as you then go on your path of seeking, as you guys all are here, obviously, you're already in a community, you've already found a teaching, and so on. But if you chronologically conceive of this or visualize this, then it becomes very important as you go and meet these people, as you go and sift through teachings, to keep your desired goal ever in your mind and heart, especially when community gets involved, because community can be distracting. It's super helpful. It's super supportive. On the whole, it's a big net positive. But having community dinners, for instance, can be a distraction. Having community parties can be a distraction. Having in-person gatherings can be a distraction. Now, it can also add greatly to the embodiment and the integration. But you do want to keep clear that as long as you haven't sufficiently found what you desire, if that doesn't feel fully satisfied yet, you do need to keep your desired goal ever in your mind and in your heart. even in the midst of a loving community. Now, you don't have to dismiss them, but you just need to make sure that you're staying on your own track. You don't get swallowed up by a teaching, a teacher, a community. You want to keep your own goal very clearly in mind and heart. Okay, that's number 5. Principle 6, prioritize learning and growth over or above every other personal motivation. This is a golden principle for life. As I've said several times before, I think this is what empires, societies, but also spiritual communities, companies, anything that we want to sustain for, say, hundreds or thousands of years, any kind of society, any kind of collective, any kind of even a family, if we want that family, if we want that society, if we want that civilization in the greatest sense of the word, or beyond that confederation of civilizations, if we want any sort of an organization consisting of societies or people to be harmonious ongoingly, to be sustainably ongoingly harmonious and effective at its core intention for what it seeks, then at the very foundation of such a society or conglomerate of societies, there needs to be learning as the main priority, learning and growth. If it is, there will be harmony perpetually. If this desire does not exceed the fact that someone in the community didn't pay for your dinner when you did pay for theirs yesterday, and they said they would pay for yours today, if that is more important to you than learning and growing, you can forget about a peaceful civilization. Let alone becoming an interstellar civilization. How are we going to stay connected across dimensions and universes and portals and even time if we do not know the unity of that group, of that society, of that confederation, and if in our hearts our priority is not to learn to fulfill the mission, whatever that mission is, and to learn how to fulfill that mission. But if your priority is to learn from every encounter within a community, within a society, or within a spiritual community as well, then that guarantees resolution. It guarantees harmony. Put any other desire above this, aside from like the desire for God and so on, but as a functional desire, an interactive type of desire, if you put any other desire above the desire to learn from a moment, now there is room for righteousness, there's room for belief systems getting in conflict with each other, there's room for fairness and unfairness, there's room for victim and oppressor, which is not to say that these things could not be objectively gauged and say like, hey, this dude is abusing the situation here. Let's kick him out of our confederation. That makes total sense. Okay, but at that level, you will have the wisdom to discern that. You do not need to feel righteous in order to discern that someone is being a dick. They can objectively be a dick and not fit in with that society and its norms and values, and you can lovingly let them go. And internally, this internal attitude, have prioritized learning at every step of this process and trigger. Thus, then, you have maintained harmony, humility, which we'll get into in a second. And you have not caused entropy within the society. You've not caused conflict within itself. The wholeness is maintained. So very important, especially as you get into community-based seeking and teaching and so on. Because I'm always baffled by how many sort of social politics there still are in communities also like this one. Like how many people get so personally offended all the time, and how many little dramas are there on the side and things that need to be worked out, and like, but I am right and he did this and he did. So, You do not know what you seek. You do not know why you seek it. You do not seek it intensely enough, and you do not think it's possible for you. Keep your desired goal ever in your mind and heart. Prioritize learning and growth above every other personal shit show of a desire. And we shall have harmony, and you will shall know progress. Okay? Get over yourself. And then look at yourself with the light of impersonal loving awareness. You look at every nook and cranny of your fucked up little shadow self, and you love all that shadow into the light, into unity, into integration. But you shall not become a drama queen. You shall not whine. You shall be truthful. Okay? You shall be honorable. You shall be courageous. You shall look at yourself. If you cannot resolve it, then you bring it up to someone else, to a facilitator, to the group. You share honestly, by all means. But remember to keep the desire for growth. Check in with yourself. Am I prioritizing learning here, or am I prioritizing my perspective? If you can just do that, this will ensure harmony and excitement and love and unity and all these good things. Okay? Even in community. Awesome. Okay, the next point, principle 7. Cultivate confidence, humility. This is a new word, okay? This is not confident humility or humble confidence, although that's one way to sort of explain it, using terms that we already have on earth. So that's why I call it confidence, humility. But before I call it anything, it's its own frequency that does not have a word on earth, or at least not in the English language. Okay, so the best translation I came up with, so that it makes sense to your mind, is confidence-humility. But it's one word. It's one word. It's one new concept. So try to grasp that. We could have called it lollygooks as well. But then you'd be like, what the fuck is lollygooks? This sounds like a cult. I'm out of here. So I call it confidence, humility. Not confident, humility. Those are two existing words. Combine them and they get close. They approximate what I mean by this. So what is confidence, humility? Now, the best way to get your mind, your consciousness attuned to the actual frequency, because every word, every term is first a frequency that carries a pointer, it carries a direction, it has a vector, it has a meaning that it intends to convey. So there's a frequency domain that exists pre-verbally, preconceptually. Then it becomes conceptual, then it becomes verbal, and then depending on your language, it's altered and so on. So every term has a frequency before it becomes anything. So what's the frequency behind confidence, humility? The way to guide you into that coordinate so that you can actually be like, I get it. I get this. This is a new word. Confidence, humility, I see it, is through the concepts of confidence and humility in one. Because in our society, often we see them as at odds with themselves or each other. So we say, okay, that person is confident, but then we're almost always sort of assuming that they're not humble. But that is arrogance. That's the frequency of arrogance. The frequency of arrogance is actually not confidence. I'll get to that in a second. But it's definitely not humble. So arrogance is insecurity. The only way to be arrogant is to be insecure. So the counter word of confidence, humility would be arrogance, insecurity, or insecurity, arrogance. All right, so we have insecurity hyphen arrogance, and then we have confidence hyphen humility. Those are two new terms. So I want you to get that because, again, when we're seeing someone arrogant, we might call them confident, but we're wrong. They are insecure. And when we see someone really humble, we might assume that they're not confident. But if they're truly humble in the right way, then they're actually confident. And one of the main reasons why I have created a word for this, so to speak, is because I've seen far too many seekers fall for the insecure arrogance of false humility. And I've been called arrogant way too many times. Mistakenly so. So, now I didn't come up with this word for my own ego, but it just goes to show that this is a pervasive misunderstanding in society, both in terms of how we project this onto others, but also internally, how we internalize this. And that's why it's especially important is to get rid of this image, or to transmute the image that humility looks like an insecurity in any way, shape, or form, because it does not. Take any moment of your life. Take any moment in your life, in your history, in your past, where you felt humble, but in this sort of like shy way, like, oh, I don't know, I don't need anything, I don't, da, 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 da. And just notice how that frequency was insecurity. It wasn't humility. Therefore, you were being arrogant. So when you said no to that thing, not just out of being polite, but out of a personal insecurity or fear, you were being arrogant. You were being insecurely arrogant, you could say, or insecurity arrogance was present. There's nothing humble about that. If, however, you said confidently, because you knew it was polite to decline and there was someone else who genuinely needed that food more or wanted that food more, and so you confidently said, even though you wanted that piece of food, no thank you, I've had plenty. Now you were humble. You were confidence, humility was present, right? So that's just a simple example, a bit of a basic everyday example. But more importantly, you want to see how this lives in you on your spiritual path, on your seeking, on your apprenticeship journey. Where are you playing falsely humble towards your own journey? For instance, do you believe it's possible for you? Oh yeah, I don't want to be too egotistical and too grandiose. Like, I don't know, I hope one day I'll attain it. No, there's nothing humble about that. There's nothing confidently humble about that. Confidence, humility about that. So it's important to gain confidence in your journey. Important to be confident in yourself. If you're truly confident in yourself, you will be humble because you've got nothing to prove. If you're insecure, you want to prove something, so you will be arrogant. To the untrained eye, that might look like confidence. It might look like, wow, look at this confident figure. What a leader. What an authority figure. But if you're not actually truly confident within, then it's arrogance because it's rooted in insecurity. But if your humility is rooted in confidence, now you've got that package deal. You've got that really sweet core vibration that will carry you across the ocean of samsara in a heartbeat. And it will make you a much better teammate within a society or collective or community. And this is what a leader needs. You cannot have insecurely arrogant leaders. It just won't work. You need confidence, humility present in any leader. We wish to make true spirituality, the true direct knowledge of God, commonplace knowledge. Because this is about accessing the real self, the freedom, the potential, the possibility, our understanding of God. That's what this tour is all about. It is about returning God to the people, which is already in the making in the collective consciousness anyway. We're just supporting its further ignition, its acceleration. And so can you, if you wish to participate. Okay, very important. Principle 8. We're still under the 4 inner seeking attitudes. Number 8. Know that your path is between you and God. not between you and human beings. Very important. This is related to keep your goal really close within your mind and your heart. Keep that flame lit of knowing what you truly seek. Keep that ever in mind and heart. On a similar note, somewhat different emphasis, know that your journey, your choices, your path, what works for you, and so on, at the end of the day, or why you do what you do, or why you make the choices you make in response to other people, or your community, or your own life, when your family is looking, or society is watching, or judging, or people are misunderstanding you, or whatever it might be, just remember, or they're judging you from taking a different path, or whatever it is. Just remember your journey. All that matters, okay, is that you remember it's between you and God, or between you and you, between you and the self, between you and source, between you and reality. It's never going to be between you and other human beings. And therefore, the more pop culture statement, only God can judge me, is very true. Only God can judge me. This is very important to understand. Obviously, we're not actually talking about judgment here, but we are talking about discernment. We are talking about how aligned are you, which is ever measured as a result of natural physics. It's the physics that God created. It lets us know emotional guidance system, integrity, honor, karma. These things knock on your door. Law of responsibility. The universe responds when you're out of alignment, and it responds in a different way when you are in alignment. Yeah. This is not God actively judging you. It is the principles that he set forth, or it, or she, or they, or purple cat without genitals, whatever. They, God, set forth this principle of guidance, the physics, the metaphysics of creation. So you will ever be guided. To know, to sense, you get messages intuitively, physically, ultimately physically, as to if you're in or out of alignment with what you truly desire and who you really are. And so, when we start making choices in our lives and or how we affect others that are based in how other people perceive us, or even how my human teacher will judge me, or how my parents what they might think of me. As soon as you make why you do what you do about other human beings, you've lost the plot. And so, never do that. Always remember that your journey is between you and God. God are the only eyes that are truly on your journey, on your alignment, on your choices, on your integrity, on your honor, on your path. Just remember that. And this is a principle, this is an intuitive understanding that I've had for a long time that carried me through a lot of challenges, even post my more initial awakenings. The challenges we have with human interaction, with fitting into a society, with being judged and blamed and misunderstood, and so on. So, at the end of the day, when we are being tempted to fall prey to our proclivity or our weakness, our bias towards pleasing other people, which is not for them, it's not service to others, it's not confidence, humility, it's insecurity, arrogance, it's service to self. To please another human being when it goes against your truth, obviously do no harm, but that's different than not pleasing. You can not please someone and not do any harm. You're just speaking, being, acting on your truth. But the moment you've forsaken that because someone expects something of you, or because they will then not judge you as harshly, you have lost the plot. You will suffer because God is the only creator and therefore the only physics that ever apply to you. Human physics do not apply to your spiritual journey, to your integrity, to your honor. Only God's physics apply to your integrity, your alignment, your honor. So just remember that when you're faced with a challenge, offered to you in the form of other human beings, your society, and so on, do not choose their minds, okay? Choose God. What would God want you to truly do in that moment? Choose, and so on. And this can carry you through some of those challenging waters. And this is very important as a seeker because we all deal with humans, relationships, perceptions, media, social media, what have you. So very important to stay true to God, not to other human beings. And one thing that can help you actually do this is just to remember how messed up and ignorant human beings are. That can really help with this. You don't have to judge it. It's just to see the reality of that can really help you. Because then you go, wait a second. I can either stay true to God, who will ever witness me, and I'll have to live with that choice for the rest of my existence. No, not that that cannot be corrected, of course, but until it's corrected, it will live with me as a distortion. It will live with me as a memory. It will live with me as a misaligned choice. I can do that. Or I can become what a collective of more ignorant than monkeys species thinks, expects, hopes, thinks is right, thinks is false, thinks is true, and so on. And in so doing, in so choosing to make my journey about humans rather than God, I'm not talking about serving humans, that's great, but that comes from your connection to God. But for you to pose, for you to choose, for you to make certain decisions based on how it's going to be reflected in other human minds, makes you less intelligent than a monkey. If you can think of it like that, then it becomes an easier choice. But unfortunately, often the way we think about other people's judgment is that it really matters. It really matters, doesn't it? It really matters what people think of me. Just remember that monkeys are less ignorant of reality than most human beings. So don't join the retards, is what I'm saying. Don't join the muggles. Don't join the stupid people. Don't join them. Just don't join them. Okay? T-shirt, hashtag, don't join the retards. So the moment you choose to give away your power and your authenticity and your integrity to the retards, you become one yourself. Okay? It's a beautiful word, retardation. I don't mean anyone with a genetic disability or anything like that, okay? Or a special case or whatever they call it. I'm speaking purely about the original use of the word, to slow down, to stupefy, okay? To retard something means to slow down that process, to make it less efficient, less flowy. So when you become a retard, or when you retard your process, you are slowing down, you are holding back. You're no longer in the purity of your truth. You're not accelerating. So don't become stupid, don't become petrified, don't become scared. It's only between you and God. This can carry you through so many human man-made challenges, social challenges. And let that flame burn wildly. Do not fear human persecution. Do not fear human persecution. Okay? Fear God. This is what God-fearing means originally as well. Let me clarify that. To be a God-fearing person doesn't mean that you should fear God like a person in the sky. It means that you should have awe and respect for your connection, your alignment to God. To be God-fearing means to prioritize, to make that important, to make that a significant point of attention in everything you do. When you are afraid of something, what do? When you fear something, what do? You make sure that. Okay, so when you're a God-fearing person, you make sure that you remain in alignment with God. So obviously there's better words for that, or preferable words for that, but that is the original concept. To be God-fearing doesn't mean to be scared of God. It means to pay attention to your alignment to God, your truthfulness, your integrity. Don't be a human-fearing entity as much as possible. And if you just remember how little humans know about everything that you seek, you will stop seeking their approval, because you know the moment I have their approval, I'm doing something wrong. Most likely, very probable. It's just mathematics. If there's a whole group of people who have no clue about anything that you're seeking, and they're all applauding you and, oh my God, you're the best thing ever, you're lost. You've lost the plot. You've become human. You've retarded your own process. Okay? So now, on the other hand, if that same group is perhaps not understanding you so well, or even judging or vilifying you, then you know, hey, I might be onto something. It's not golden proof, because you can't take proof out of anything humans say, by the way, positive or negative. But at least you have some indication that, hey, I'm probably onto something, because I know that what I desire and seek has got nothing to do with what that group of people have any knowledge of. So obviously they don't understand me. That makes sense. Now, again, that's not a carte blanche for just doing whatever. You got to keep your own integrity. But this is between you and God. And ideally, a community that can keep you on track, that is desiring and seeking and knowing something about what you are desiring and seeking. Then you can start to interact more with humans. Then you can start to take their feedback. But at the end of the day, it is between you and God, not you and other human beings. All right. That was fun. And if it wasn't, then you have some idea that's out of alignment with creation. Or maybe I'm just all fucked up today. Okay, the 4 outer seeking attitudes. So now that we have the foundation of seeking, and now that we know how to navigate the waters of our seeking journey as we start to interact with these components of our seeking, then what do we keep in mind on our outer seeking path? So the things that we meet, that we sift through and so on. So principle 9, or the first of the 4 outer seeking attitudes, seek out the best teaching, teacher, practice, and community for you. Again, I didn't say best teaching, teacher, practice, and community, period. For you. Pretty self-explanatory. But I want to emphasize that you must seek that out, that you must make a point out of that, because, and this is maybe where more of personal anecdotes come into play. When I was seeking, and I went to India and all that, and even before India, I was, I'll mention the next principle too, because I'm going to talk about that. So principle 10, the second of the outer seeking attitudes, is scrutinize and appreciate. And then I explain it a little bit. I say, absorb the useful and release the useless. So we want to scrutinize what we meet on our path. So when we set out to find the best teaching, teacher, practice, and community for us, we must then scrutinize and appreciate, not scrutinize and judge, not scrutinize and invalidate. You can do that. It's okay. It's not the end of the world. I did it. This is where some of the personal anecdotes come in, perhaps. But ideally, the ideal attitude is to scrutinize, see if it's for you, see if it makes sense. Is that teacher where you want to be? Are they tapped into something beyond the monkey mind? Do they actually know what it is that you seek? And if they intimately know what you desire and seek from their own experience, in their own state of consciousness, then great, you absorb all that, right? Or you even, that might even be the highest path for you, which we'll get into in a second. But until you find that, you want to scrutinize. Is this guy for real? Is this teacher for me? Is this teaching relevant? Is this teaching where I want to get to? Or is it teaching a lower level? Or 2 lower levels? Or something else entirely that just sounds similar to what I want? So we must scrutinize, but then to keep your own harmony and integrity intact, I recommend that along with that scrutinization, you also include the vibration of appreciation. Again, it's similar to confidence, humility. So on the confidence side of confidence, humility, you scrutinize. You're confident, you know what you want, what you seek, why you seek it intensely, and so you scrutinize with confidence. But then at the same time, you appreciate what is being offered. You appreciate that that's a path that's valid for other people. And then you absorb what's useful, because even from less appropriate paths for you, you can always learn something. So absorb what is useful, and then you lovingly, with appreciation, release the non-useful. And then you're on your merry way, and you don't develop any negative relationship to that community, to that teacher, to that concept in your own mind. You're not invalidating any other path of God, which is a path of yourself. It's a way into yourself. You can see the beauty and look at those seekers and the path through which they are seeking, and the symbolism, no matter how distorted or quote unquote low level it might be, or how indirect it might be, appreciate the beauty. I was somewhere yesterday, and I saw a whole bunch of Arabs just in the middle of sort of an office setting, a busy area, sit down, go on their knees, and for about 10, 15 minutes straight, with intense focus, like at least that's what it felt like. Go on their knees, kiss the fucking floor, beautiful. Pray to God. Now they're doing that in their particular way. But I actually felt, as the greater self, felt so much appreciation and love and affection from them for me, for God, for Source. It's like, thank you so much for appreciating what we are and the source of life. Now, they might, I don't know what they're thinking exactly. There were a lot of them too. But, it's through some concept, it's through a religious teaching, and it's through certain words, certain word vibrations that Christians don't use, that Buddhists don't use, that I don't use. But nevertheless, their devotion is what mattered. And so through their own lens, they are worshiping the same source that I'm talking about that we can know directly. I believe it's worthwhile to learn how to know it directly as you possibly can. But don't invalidate these paths. See the beauty in that. Appreciate that. So that's one example. Now, on my own journey in the past, I would go through teachers quite a bit. Also in India, I would sort of do the teacher shopping thing. I would go here, the satsang over there, teaching over there, yoga over there. And even before that, in Holland, I would do some of that. And also the same with books. I would buy these books and Jiddu Krishnamurti and Osho and whatever. So all these paths, also people that I didn't physically meet. But I would always scrutinize, like, do I get a good sense of this teacher? And I recommend you do this with me, please. Okay, because I've just used the word retard. That might not resonate for you. That might not seem like a very loving, peaceful thing to do. For instance, if that's not true for you, if that resonates for you, that somehow signifies that I'm not pure, and you scrutinize that within yourself, is this true? And you sense into it, I encourage you to do that. And if you get the sense like, no, that's a distortion, that's a personal filter of his, and that exists, or that filter is so present to an extent where I don't feel I can learn from this guy what I want to learn. I don't want to become like him. Of course, you would never become like me because you have your own blueprint, but you get the idea. Don't follow someone that in a sense you don't want to end up as, because people always teach and advise from their own experience or from what they want to be. Okay, so with that in mind, you want to scrutinize your teachers, as I did. And there was always this sort of difficulty that I had. Remember, also, I was young, huh? I hadn't lived a life yet. I was just fresh out of high school, puberty, what have you. So I was trying to scrutinize who the fuck knows the source of all of life, at the age of 17 and 18. I was trying to discern that with, like, I'm a bit of an alien from the start. Like, I don't quite understand human behavior ever. So now I understand it more because I've studied it and I've dealt with people. But as a child and as a teenager, I was sort of a chameleon, a natural chameleon. I didn't quite understand what was going on, why people operate the way they do. Like, to really get that mindset, that structure, that distortion, it's always been a bit of a foreign process to me, especially when I was younger. So here I am, insecurely arrogant, but also confidently humble in terms of knowing that I seek for source and that it's possible for me. And knowing that I have to scrutinize somehow if I want to know who I can trust, which teaching, which book, which practice, because I didn't want to waste any time, you see. If my seeking intensity, point number 4, was not strong, I wouldn't mind. I would stay with one teacher for 5 years. I would eat up there. I would do that practice, but I didn't want that. I wanted to know from the very start of a practice. I was willing to practice for a few days, try it out, but beyond that, no more. I want to know if I commit my precious time and energy to this, because at the time I also had this idea I have to save the world by 2012, roughly, So that's a lot of burden to carry, intensity of seeking. And then I felt like, okay, this planet is going to fucking blow itself up if I don't change the whole world by 2012. So that was another part of sort of my blueprint, which was distorted by symbolism, but nevertheless rooted in an intensity and a fierceness for bringing truth to the people and being of service. That calling was strong. So not only I realized I have to find it myself first, but I also at the same time carried the pressure with the same sort of intensity of I want to deliver this to the planet. I want to explain this to people while I was still searching for it myself, while being 18 years old. And then I'm in front of teachers who very confidently speak about this or that. Hello? Okay, some sound came through. Thought somebody was talking. Maybe a ghost from a past teacher that I scrutinized without enough appreciation. I am sorry. I was a rebel. I know. I love you. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. I wouldn't be where I am without you. Okay. So, what was I saying? Okay, so I was carrying all this intensity, okay, to exemplify everything I've talked about. And then, as a young kid, or a young adult, I suppose, I'm sitting in front of these impressive beings that are teaching, and there's a crowd that are coming to see them, every day or every week, whatever the structure was, and they're talking about profound truths and yogic philosophy and meditation techniques and all that stuff. And I had to somehow discern, because my search was very specific. I knew what I wanted was enlightenment. I wanted to know the source of all of life, period. Again, number one, know what you want and why you want it. And so that was my barometer. And all I had to go on was my intuition, pretty much. And some telltale signs, whatever, you can, get a sense of people. But I was using the barometer of my intuition to discern, is this teacher, basically my question always was, has this teacher realized what I'm seeking? It's the main question. Has this teacher penetrated what I wish to penetrate in terms of consciousness? And no, I never found someone who had. There's a couple that came pretty close, and one that I didn't meet in person that had found what I was looking for, but there were meetings around their teachings. And so, different degrees of exposure. I was spending time with a Swami that was more like personally relatable to me as well. We would like travel together, food together, and so there was that, but I was going to other meetings as well, other Swamis and yogis and teachers. Anyway, my point being, I suppose, that no matter how impressive they came across, I would always release them at the end with appreciation. Different degrees of rebellion, but overall with appreciation. And there was then, at the moment of like being in their presence and feeling the power of their teachings, but then also feeling like this is not as direct as I want to go. This is going to take me 20 years. I don't have fucking 20 years because the planet is going to die in 2012. And I need to not only realize and embody this myself, but somehow create a teaching that reaches the whole world. I don't have time for this. I've got 6 years left, something like that at the time. I don't know exactly the calculations, but something like that. In about 5 or 6 years, okay, everyone's gonna do whatever, die, or I don't know what I thought exactly, but there's all these. But I just had the sense I gotta save the world. I knew I had no time to waste. That intensity was my luck. Did it stress out? Did it burn out my system from time to time? Yes, it absolutely did. Did it cause a lot of emotional sort of turmoil and pain and high peaks and deep lows and depressive states and then euphoria and all? Yes, absolutely. But in the end, it served me. Apparently, I could handle it okay and return to a balanced state. But that's just, again, that's a disclaimer to be aware of. Can you handle that? I don't know. Up to you. Not the session for that, but you get the point. And then, while I was being with those teachers, for instance, there was this sort of this conflicting feeling, because on the one hand, I really wanted to appreciate them, and I could see their wisdom, and I could see that they knew things I didn't know yet, or they had access to things I didn't have access to yet. But at the same time, my intuition let me know they're not quite there, or they're not in touch with what I seek, or for some reason, the path they prescribe is too long for me. So no, thank you. I don't have time for this. There must be a more direct path. So then I wanted to love them. I wanted to appreciate them. I wanted to be a good follower, a good student of theirs. But there was that rebellion at the same time, and that sort of testing and scrutinizing. And I would ask certain questions, sometimes in sort of a subtle, sneaky way, trying to get to the answer without sort of being too offensive. But at the end of the day, I would always let go of these teachers and go, quote unquote, my own path again. But not just my own path like an empowered woman goes her own path, or an empowered man, I guess, but it's especially popular in empowered feminism sometimes. It's like, no, this is my independent path. Well, yes, to retardation. We've talked about this. So when I say I went back to my independence, like, okay, I would scrutinize, then I would be grateful, I would appreciate, but I would say, I'm sorry, I have to go, or whatever. Because that independence was not just independence in terms of, now I'm just going to do whatever I think and whatever I think knows best. No, I was really listening for the fine print in between their words. What's the state they're coming from? I was looking at their facial expressions, the energy I felt, their teachings. And if I felt they had not accomplished what I knew I was seeking and I had to do, I would move on because I had no time to waste. And so then you could say, okay, I went my own path again, but I didn't really, because I wasn't seeking for my own path. I was seeking for the truth. So if your alignment is to the truth beyond your fucking self, beyond your ego, beyond your craziness, then by all means go your own path. Listen to that above any teacher. If not, if you have absolutely no active guidance and you're just a train wreck and you're just coming into seeking for truth, it would probably serve you to listen to just about any teacher that's been fairly well recognized. They don't have to know exactly what you ultimately want. They're going to be able to provide you with mental and emotional stability. They're going to provide you with greater awareness of your true self, greater clarity of your purpose and what you're actually seeking, and so forth. But if you were like me, and if you knew what you wanted, you were clear on that, that was your lifeline, that was your guiding compass, your true north, then by all means, stick to your own path. Do not let any teacher, any human being, any expression of God, no matter how enlightened or not enlightened, make you deviate, make you swayable. Then it is safe to follow your own path, to trust in your own path, because then your path is to the truth. Then you have discernment, or at least the best intention to follow as clearly as you can discern. That's not the same as, everyone's life is their own and I'm just going to seek it my way. What does this guy know? Like, that's not the same. That's not empowering. That doesn't actually help your spiritual seek. So there's the balance to strike. How mature of a seeker are you? I was immature as a human being, but I was very mature as a seeker. You could say an old soul in a young body. And I knew that. I could feel that. And so I had a guidance within. That's why I could follow my own guidance, even in the face of much more experienced teachers. My mind, insecurity, arrogance, wanted to doubt myself a lot of the times. That was where the inner conflict came in that seeking, because I was sitting with these people and I was like, I don't think they're correct, or I don't think they're coming from the right place. I don't think what they're saying is the truest path. But what do I know? I'm only 18 years old, and they've had 30, 40 years of meditation and teaching under their belt. Who am I to claim that I know better when I do feel that I do? And so there was that conflict, that dichotomy. But then at the end of the day, I always had to trust that, because it was raging like a fire. This is where the intensity of your desire comes in. It will burn through the forces of ignorance of yourself and everyone around you. You will not be able to hold on to concepts that don't hold true to what you're seeking, because of the intensity with which you seek it and the clarity with which you know why you seek what you seek. You see? So you got to trust your own path if you have a path of your own. If you're just a babbling monkey with ideas and conditioning in a social media account, then, any teacher on the corner of your local street will be much better than what you have now. So then by all means, do not have an independent course. By all means, follow any teacher you can find that seems reasonably more enlightened than you. All right, back to the principles. So, number one of the outer seeking attitudes, seek out the best teaching, teacher, practice, and community for you. So I hope my personal anecdote made sense out of that. That it's not just about seeking any teaching or teacher. What you want is to find the best one for you that you can possibly find right now. Does it have to be the one for the rest of your life? No. But right now, you got to find a teaching, teacher, practice, and community that really resonates strongly for you, that really give you a clear, full-on sense like, yes, this is the place for me to learn. This is the teacher or the teaching for me to implement and to learn from. And then 5 years later, that might change. That might evolve. That's fine. But at least do your best to seek out the best fit for you. How do you do that? Along the way, you want to scrutinize and appreciate. Absorb the useful and release lovingly the useless. Now, when you do find the highest path for you, at least for the conceivable future of your path, again, what comes after, you don't know. You're going to evolve. Always be flexible. Continue to scrutinize and check in with yourself if it's still the highest for you. If it suddenly moves 5 years later, don't demonize that teaching, teacher, or community because that's on you. That's between you and God. That's the lack of integrity. That's karma that's going to come back and bite you in the ass. I promise you. So, scrutinize. Keep scrutinizing, especially when it becomes relevant again for you. Like, hey, maybe maybe this is not relevant for me. Maybe there's more that I could learn here. I'm not saying that I'm higher than the teacher or teaching, but something about this right now is not the right timing for me. And so, or maybe you do actually transcend or ascend beyond whatever teacher or teaching you follow. But in either case, keep scrutinizing, especially when it feels intuitively relevant to do so again, and ask, back to point number 9, is this still the best teaching, teacher, practice, and community for me? The answer is yes, stay with it. But if you're starting to doubt it, scrutinize. And then if you do decide to leave, please do, for your own sake, please do appreciate the path you're moving away from. Because the moment you invalidate that, judge it, and become ungrateful, again, it will stick with you like a sewage smell, okay, until you've solved this. So don't be righteous, just be wise and be loving. Then when you find, number 11, when you find the highest path for you, at least for that time, be utterly devoted to it, because why not? You've already scrutinized. You've gotten to a place where you feel, okay, this is it for me for now. This is where, at least right now, maybe forever, but at least right now, this is where I can learn the most, apply the most. And hopefully in our community, what I want a strong component to be is learn to be of service to others as well. So that it's not just a student's dead end, like, okay, how long is it going to take for me to learn what you have to say here? It's going to be 2 years? It's going to be 10 years? It's not about that. It's about turning you into a shepherd. It's about fulfilling every need you have along the way to meet you where you're at. But there is an ulterior motive that's very aligned. So it's not a negative ulterior motive, but the motive is to turn you into the beautiful shepherd I know you're supposed to be. I know you want to be the servant of humanity, the servant of God in form. Because what happens once you've learned, a lot of teachings and communities, they just kind of end there. It's a lecture. And then what? Like, what's the evolution from sort of student to master or from seeker to finder? And once you start to embody it, of course, you always continue to learn. But what's the evolution there? Where's the application? Was I just studying for 10 years for my own brain just to get my chemicals straight, just to get my hormonal balance in proper order, so that when I do have my man or female period, either way, because both genders have them, then I can at least keep some glimmer of sanity about me? Is that why I studied with this teaching or teacher for the past 10 years? And now that I've heard every word they've ever said and I've read their books 10 times and I know the practice and I'm relatively enlightened, then what? Like, did I do all this for me, for my little pea brain, just to have some quiet and peace on this earth and think I know something? Of course not. You're a cosmic fucking being and there's endless potential to you and you are here to serve. So pay it forward. Okay. So we take you as consumers, we upgrade you, we give you exactly what you seek as an individual. And then when you seek it, you burst open like a fountain and you spill over into the rest of this world. And you fulfill even more. You learn even faster as of service to the whole. And you can die with true joy, not just peace of mind. True joy. So then be utterly devoted to it. You've already scrutinized it. You're there. Then stop doubting. Stop doubting. Keep your wits about you. Don't become dumb and do anything that the teacher or the community says. Of course not. I'm not talking to toddlers, right? We're grown adults. If I tell you to jump off a bridge and it doesn't make any sense for you, unless it's to save your life because the bridge is on fire, so it depends. But if I tell you out of nowhere to jump off a bridge for no good reason, please don't fucking jump off a bridge, all right? Okay, not that I will ever say that, unless it would save your life or benefit you in some real way. But keep your sense about you. I'm assuming this is common adult knowledge. You're not a toddler. So you know this. So with that as our baseline of common sense, that don't do anything that's out of integrity just because someone said it. So you continue to scrutinize, especially when your radar goes off or you don't quite understand something, then ask questions. But for the most part, when you're there, when you're with a teaching, a teacher, a community, a practice, be completely devoted to it. If you've chosen it, then you got to trust it. Otherwise, you do the empowered woman thing or empowered man thing, where you're like, okay, I should do this teaching. Yeah, I should do this practice, but you don't really know better than I do. Like, that wasn't really a trigger. If you don't trust your teacher, if you don't trust the teaching, if you don't trust the relatively bright community that hopefully is present around you, and you're getting these signals, if you choose the path of righteousness, then you have not applied principle 6, prioritize learning and growth over every other personal motivation. Again, aside from your seeking for God, okay, that goes without saying. But again, in a relative world, in your connection to others, prioritize learning and growth above every other personal motivation. If you do that, you can learn, you can absorb. You don't have to accept everything as truth, but you learn, you absorb, you're open, you want to look, you scrutinize yourself, see how you can grow. But once you found a teacher, teaching, and so on, that resonates for you, you've chosen it, now be utterly devoted to it so you can get to your next ceiling. And then maybe you have to move on. Or maybe you have to ask the teacher a question or move on to their next level teaching. So whatever it is, but while you're on the path and you feel good about where you've landed, be completely devoted to that path. Apply it to yourself. Okay, final point on this list, principle 12. Make your outer life match your inner path. So once you have found a path that works for you, now in order to further optimize that, you want to not live this dual life, or at least as little as possible. Sure, have a foothold in the world. Sure, be relatable to other people. I'm not saying you should become crazy or live in the woods, but you do want the elements in your life to not be an unnecessary, heavy distraction from your path. If you want to further learn faster, you want the elements, the components of the architecture, the environment, your relationships, and so forth in your life, where you live, what you do for a living, who you hang out with, these things. You do want to, for the most part, it's fine if you go visit other people for 20% of the time or 10% of the time, or do an occasional task 10 or 20% of the time. But you do want 80 or plus % of your life to be as smooth of a reflection of an expression of your path. At some point, this is not the foundation. This is not the most important. But if you want to further optimize it, that's why I put it at the end. And once you have found the highest path for you for that time, stay flexible, continue to scrutinize when needed, but for that time, and you're devoting yourself to it, it makes no sense to then have this secondary life that I have to return my focus to this and this and this and this. Unless it's directly being of service and it's out of your calling. That's a topic for another day. But for most people, it's just the remnants of their fear, their conditioning. They don't want to let go of certain things. They don't want to be perceived by other people. But remember, your path is between you and God, not you and humans. So then make that sacrifice of your own fear if you can, because that fear is insecurity, arrogance. It's not confident humility, and so on. So make your outer life be a match to your desired path. This will greatly support you and nurture you in your focus, in your practice, in your connections, in your support system, and so on. Okay. Wonderful. And remember, there's only one. So don't take this too seriously. But these are decent guidelines, I think, based on my own experience. What distinguishes my effectiveness from a lot of people who don't seem as effective or don't consider themselves as effective. These are some of the distinguishing features of such an apprenticeship. So if you embody even a few of those, you will see results faster. You will find more joy and empowerment in your seeking journey. My friends, thank you very much. I hope this was helpful. And please understand, I love humanity or I would not be here. I like to call them stupid sometimes, but only for one reason, and that's because they are. Okay, I'm joking. Sorry. I meant to say only for one reason. It's because they act a little stupid, and they shouldn't. They don't have to. Okay, they need a little bit of humility / confidence. So let's give it to them. But a big shout out to all human beings and all the ways in which they desire to seek to further be a testament of the mystery and all the ways that the Creator can express itself. Hallelujah. What a shit show. Epic fireworks. Okay, my friends, it's up to you now to save the world. I'm out of here. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching this Bentinho live session. Bentinho now hosts these transformative live sessions completely free, offering profound insights and guidance to support your journey. To attend the next live session with Bentinho, simply visit Massaro University and follow the instructions to create your free account.